If you want to make God laugh, tell her your plans. And we go through it, and it turned out to be, well, things are pretty good now, but it's an interesting journey.
My name's Isabel Donnelly. Welcome to The Sober Spill. By the time this airs, I will be Isabel Kremen. That'll be my new government name. Write that down. So just remember that. And today I am here with my friend, Don Miguel Ruiz Jr. For the people that don't know you, who are you?
I am Don Miguel Ruiz Jr. That's what I said last time in the podcast. I am an author and lecturer. I write books based on my family's tradition. I'm a father and a husband, and just me.
Yeah, that's a good enough answer for me.
A short enough one, at least.
Yeah, and so if you've watched other episodes of The Sober Spill, you know we've had Miguel on before. We had him on virtually. We're fortunate enough to have him on in person this time, which we're excited about. And we're having him back on because there's no way you can fit everything you need to know about you, or even that you don't necessarily need to know that you want to know about you into like a 35-minute episode. Like that's just not, you can't fit a person into 35 minutes.
No, it goes by so fast too.
I know. And then we end up just talking about nothing, talking about the Duolingo owl for like 10 minutes. And then
I'm so grateful for your editors, because that was an impressive, because I know we didn't talk for 40 minutes. We talked for a good hour.
Yeah.
I think.
Well, it's anytime Miguel and I talk for more than like 5 minutes, there's usually like a song break somewhere in there. Like we've sung together numerous times today so far.
And we go on tangents and banter.
Yeah, just start talking about nothing. But what we're on track, what I'm locking in, what we're talking about today is he has a new book out. It's called The Poisoned Arrow. And it's largely about dealing with fear and how fear is something that like poisons our lives, and using the arrow as a very apt metaphor for that. And so he just came to Canaan, up on the Canaan campus, to talk about this. And now he's going to, I don't know, like I'm interested to know how you felt compelled to bring this topic up, because obviously your work is so much more than just dealing with fear, but what what moved you to pursue this topic further?
Sure. Well, when I write, we go off on tangents, and as our conversations have shown, I have a tendency of going on tangents. So, from my very first book, The 5 Levels of Attachment, I started writing about going up the levels of attachment, and then I started going down the levels of attachment. And somewhere between level 3 and 2, identity and preference, I just started going on a tangent, because there was a lot to explain there. And I was just processing it. And I was starting to break the line. So my publisher, my editor, Randy Davila, says, we're breaking the line. Let's cut that off and save it for some time. And we finished the book, and it was pretty good. But that little tangent became a book called The Mastery of Self. And I just kept writing, and just became bigger. And I released the book, and just the same pattern. It started adding more things that we left out. I've written 6 books up until this book. This is my 7th book. And there was a collection of extra. So my publisher comes and asks me, "Hey, Miguel, let's do this fear, because you talk about fear and many other things, and we didn't use it because we were trying to stay on topic, trying to keep me on topic, because it's easy to just ramble when you're writing and process. And we talk about fear." And I said, "Okay, yeah, I like that." So we went over what we had, because I already have my concepts and ideas that I have of it. Consciously or intellectually, I have this idea of what I want to talk about. I'm like, all right, let's just dive into it. And we begin to put it all together. And I had a deadline this is in January of 2023. And my deadline was September of that year. And I'm like, oh, this should be an easy breezy thing. That's what we both thought. And then life happens. That's as always. I got a concussion. I have a cancer scare. I've got my son who's has autism, who's going through his journey. My daughter as well, of course, my wife, and we're going through it. So basically, it became a book of trial by fire. Like it went from speaking what I know about it to sharing what I went through. And how we go through that. It's like to know the difference between real fear, and it's easier to understand fear as a function rather than a concept. The function of fear is to keep us safe. That's it. When we're in danger, we'll respond with fight, flee, freeze, fawn, finish, whatever. And it's real. It's a real emotion or experience that we have, a reaction to a danger. And there's nothing good or bad or right or wrong about it. It's just something that we do. It's meant to protect us. I say that because most of the time people say fear is in your head. Well, that's referring to irrational fear, false evidence appearing real. I usually like to use the image of going to a movie theater and watching a horror movie. I don't have enough time to tell that story, but it's just you're seeing a movie, you're experiencing fight or flight in the movie theater, and you're perfectly safe. And it's just something that the mind can't tell. It's just light being projected onto a screen. And the mind is more powerful than any movie projector. It could answer all the what ifs of the worst case scenario. That's what my wife says anxiety is, answering the worst case what ifs of the worst case scenario. So I wanted to differentiate the difference between real fear and irrational fear and stay in our discipline when life goes through us. And that's exactly what I went through with the cancer scare, with dealing with a concussion and some other things in the family, and how to use it to heal ourselves. So it started with a conversation with me and my publisher in regards to all these little extras that I had and seeing that there's something there. And I liked it. And like my grandmother likes to say, well, may she rest in peace, if you want to make God laugh, tell her your plans. And we go through it. And it turned out to be, well, things are pretty good now, but it's an interesting journey.
Yeah, there was definitely, even remembering what you shared with me, there was, throughout the years, there have been certain points that were incredibly strenuous and tumultuous for you, and your family very much is in a much better place.
Yes.
Than it had been. And I think it's interesting talking about how through all the different books that you've written, there have always been like little tangents about fear that have come up. That's an interesting theme to carry throughout your life and always have that be something that obviously was on your mind and you weren't necessarily able to put it into a full book to express that until now.
Yeah.
What has, and this might be broad, but how has fear influenced your life?
Wow, that's a great question. Throughout my life, I would say that I've experienced many a moment that I cannot consider traumatic, that they impact my behavior throughout my life. I'm 49 years old, so I can say that I can see how fear impacted me when I was a teenager, 20-something-year-old, and especially when I became a father. That's a new kind of fear that is unlike anything I had before.
That's what I was saying to my sister-in-law and my brother-in-law since they just had their baby. I'm like, is it so fun? Are you scared like all of the time? Like, is this so scary that you're taking care of this little baby? It can't help itself. And they're like, yeah, kind of both.
Yes, because you can see it's like any little action, there's ramifications, the ripple effects of that you won't see immediately, but down the line, you'll probably see it. And, there's all this stuff, self-doubt. And that's the irrational fear talking, like all the what ifs, and letting that impact you. But in my life, it's about, since I was young, it was always about facing fear, I'm not sure, I don't think it's in the book, it didn't make the cut, but during my initiation, we went up to this hill up in Madre Grande in San Diego, and I don't know how my dad did it, but all of a sudden we were quite aware, cognizant that we're surrounded by rattlesnakes. So he says, okay, we've gone through our initiation into our tradition. I'm 14 years old. My brother is about 11 or 12. And we do our ceremony. And then the challenge was to walk down the hill without my father. Just me and Jose, knowing full well. Now, going up the hill, we didn't know that there were rattlesnakes as abundant. We just casually put our feet where that maybe we shouldn't have, or climb just with great joy and all whatever. And then walking down, we were quite cautious because now we knew. Now I'm aware, and it's there. and you have to face it. It's like it's things that my father always taught us. Like that's the way he gave us the apprenticeship. He set up a situation and let us see how we manage it in order to gain confidence in ourselves. Because even if we make a mistake, you're still going to learn something, because from an experience, there's a reference point that allows us to kind of ground ourselves and like compare and learn from, and step A to step B. So with my father and my grandmother, it's always about going through that veil of what is real fear versus irrational fear and how to coexist with both of them and how to stay in the discipline. As we get older, the ante goes up because there's so much more that we feel as we're invested. So there's that element, the spiritual side, but then you have the social anxiety. There's still the things you have to deal with, friends and family in public spaces, and things happening and things going wrong and things going right, and little by little, and then relationships.
Yeah, there are so many things to be scared of.
Yeah, and then that's how the mind just starts projecting onto the world all the what ifs and answering with the worst case scenario.
Yeah, and that's truly, that rattlesnake thing is fully a trial by fire, and I know I would fail that. I was in Thailand at one point, and there were leeches everywhere, and I was like, I am not going forward. I'm not doing it. And a Thai man had to carry me through tall grass to get me to the other side. So I was like, it's not happening. But yeah, I like how you brought up, it's not just like it's the spiritual side, but also like day-to-day things that everyone deals with, like social anxiety, relationship anxiety. I think especially as a culture, we become more aware of how everyone's not neurotypical.
Yeah.
Like not everyone has just a calm brain.
Yeah.
Dealing with anxiety, dealing with like all of the triggers of it. How do we do that on a day-to-day basis and recognize that is irrational fear? Like you said, like coming up with the worst case scenario. And as I was sharing with you earlier, being in a stressful situation where I didn't feel like I had like a footing, and so immediately my head goes to, I'm not actually good at any of this. Like I'm bad. It just starts reverting back, and that's completely irrational.
We're all different. We're 8 billion human beings living life, and we all respond to things and differently. And sometimes what one would consider valiant is that, there's the expression my friend Kirk likes to say, is the juice worth the squeeze? And it turns out to be an old 70s expression. Is the juice worth the squeeze? And it turns out that in certain moments where we consider brave is because all of a sudden there's something that is worth it to us. And we're not thinking twice about it. We jump into it because we want to take care of someone. We want to protect someone, or we want to stand up for someone or say something. It's those things that one considers courageous, and even though you're still having fear, for a brief moment, you take that step. You can almost say that's the fight response, like it brings us to action. It's the call to action type of situation. But for me, the most dangerous response we have to fear is freeze. Freeze is the one that, in real fear, if you have rattlesnake in front of you, you will freeze and you don't move so you can let the danger pass, or don't draw attention to yourself, type of thing. When irrational fear is in play and freeze comes in, the danger is that we're no longer trusting ourselves. We're no longer trusting ourselves to make a choice. We're no longer trusting to say yes and no to things we want to say yes and no to, because, like you were describing, there's an insecurity comes in, a big what if, and it stems from either an old wound, an old condition, an old belief, or something you learn from someone else, or just simply that sensation of anxiety that comes in that makes you paralyzed, that you can't, everything, you turn into a statue of salt, and anything you can't move. And it's in that moment where we begin to doubt ourselves. And to me, that's why it's the most dangerous one of all, because even though fight is violent and fleeing is, you're trying to run for escape, but freeze is the one that makes you doubt yourself so much that you will lose any sense of direction because you don't trust yourself. It's the thing that will make you want to not get out of the house. It's the thing that's going to not even try something because you're already expecting failure and you're expecting the judgment and the pain of judgment. And because judgment is rejection, and rejection is, we're emotional beings. It hurts. So we're anticipating already, like being ridiculed hurts, being judged hurts. So we're not even attempting. So we're not even giving life the chance to say yes or no because we already told ourselves no. And that's sometimes what happens. To me, that's the irrational fear clipping my wings and not letting me live life.
Hi, I'm Ricky, recovery support clinician here at Mountainside. For veterans and military families facing addiction or mental health concern, Mountainside is here. We accept Humana TRICARE and are a proud member of VACCN, ensuring accessible, high-quality care. Our specialized programs and staff with military experience understand your journey, providing the target support for healing and recovery. If you or a loved one needs help, please call 860-824-1397.
Yeah, and I like how you brought up, like with fear, when you decide something is valiant or you decide something you want to do, you're able to kind of bypass that freeze and get into it.
Mm-hmm.
I know if it's someone else is dealing with the crisis, I'm able to like go, especially working in a healthcare setting and working in settings previous to this that were more acute, where it's suddenly like there's blood everywhere and I have to deal with it. Like I have to, or something terrible could happen. And in those moments, I'm able to like go get things done, period, like be efficient about it.
Yes.
But then it's, and this is why my fiance says, he says, you know, the movie The Brave Little Toaster?
Yes.
He's like, you're either the brave little toaster or you're so scared, the most scared anybody has ever been. And it's like in situations like that, I can go and be there.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, oh my God, I have to go somewhere. And what if everybody's looking at me? And then I'm so scared.
And the thing about it is that in those moments, you as a gut check, because part of the healing requires the willingness to accept it. You know, it's conditional love only sees what it wants to see, and unconditional love is the willingness to see the whole of it, which also means you accept the shadow self just as much as the light, using woo-woo words there. But it's the moment where you acknowledge, you know, this is my truth. I'm feeling scared. I'm feeling anxiety, and it's okay. You know, like most of the time we try to hide and pretend to be something we're not because we're afraid of the judgment. We're afraid of someone calling us whatever word that chastises someone or judges
Witch
someone.
hands.
Yeah, witch hands.
Witch hands.
Yeah, chicken or cobarde or whatever. It's those words that, like, we're pushing ourselves because on a limit, but it's not because we want to. It's because we're trying to avoid a judgment, and we force this. And there's a benefit to that, of course. There's people who push themselves out, but they're still rejecting. It hurts. Like it's still something that they don't want to do. I kept thinking about the one video about the boyfriend breaking up with the girlfriend because the girlfriend is still pushing him to do roller coaster rides, and he's just mortified, and he breaks up with her right in the middle of it. At that moment, he's like, I'm done. I'm done pretending to force myself. I'm not comfortable. This is my truth. But it requires that willingness to accept yourself, to shift. You know, it's like, if I don't want to experience that, it starts with, okay, I have this fear. I have this anxiety, and it's okay. Like, since I'm Don Miguel Ruiz Jr., I take things personal. I do make assumptions. Sometimes I'm not impeccable with the word, and sometimes I don't do my best. I accept myself. This is my truth. And I can let go of the image of Don Miguel Ruiz Jr. that's blocking me from the truth. And my truth is, I take things personal, for example. And that's the beginning of acknowledging myself and honoring that part. But I still want to learn how to not take things personal. So I take the steps, and little by little, I take to practice in those moments of choices. In a moment of choice, I can choose to not take it personal because I don't want the hangover of taking things personal. Or not, whatever. Whatever, I confuse myself.
That makes sense. Yeah, taking things personally. Because then it lingers. I'll be laying in bed and I'm like, am I dumb? Like, who cares, you know?
Oh, and I have it. We all have it.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, like, I've been watching a lot of anime with my daughter. It's kind of like our bond. Like,
Which shows?
Apothecary Diaries. I really enjoyed that one.
Okay.
We're watching My Hero Academia.
Yes, I
And
love.
Demon Slayer. I'm planning on seeing it. I may have to see it with my daughter.
So I
The
have
movie.
My Hero tattoo. I'll show you after this.
Nice.
First off, and then yeah, Demon Slayer is so good. I've read all of the manga, and my fiance, he's like, I will sleep in the car. I swear to God, if you spoil this for me, because I'm like, wouldn't it be crazy if I just like knew how it ended? And he's like, don't tell me.
Yes,
But I
yes.
want to so bad. I want someone to understand what I've been through.
Yeah, and I remember I've been watching anime since Robotech since I was young. That's my first, Rick Hunter and Lin Min Mei and Lisa, and yeah, I guess I'm dating myself. But anyways, what made me start thinking of anime is that in those moments you hear the hero before an action, and they're all thinking, before any action, they're just talking about it. Oh no, they're going over here. We gotta go get them. But if I don't do it, oh no, and you can hear them talking about this, and it's wonderful narrative, a wonderful story. But in life, sometimes we have that coach inside of us, came through it, but sometimes we don't think about it. Sometimes actually those moments where we actually cross that line, when we push ourselves outside our comfort zone, actually requires no thought. It requires this desire to cross it. And we do. And little by little, we practice that. It's like, in sports, they call it the zone. Like, you're aware of everything that's happening. You're not necessarily thinking. You're not narrating what you're perceiving, but you just happen to know what's in front of you and you act accordingly. You're present. So sometimes in facing our fears requires to be present and not let the chit chat block us and feed that fear that stops us from living life or taking that action we want to take. For example, like one of my favorite comic strips is called Mafalda from Argentina. It's kind of like the Argentinian version of Peanuts, Charlie Brown and the gang. But it's surrounded by a little girl named Mafalda. And there's a little character named Felipe. Felipe has a crush on the blonde girl, kind of like Charlie Brown has a crush on the little redhead girl. And Felipe has a crush on her, and he never goes up because she's always surrounded by her little friends. And you're just afraid of going up to her and making like the comments of the friends and all that. So one day he's walking around the park and he sees the little girl reading in a stone somewhere, or a little bench. And he gets really happy and he goes, this is my moment, this is my chance. And he's smiling and he starts walking to her. And as he's walking, little by little, the smile fades away, concern, worry goes out, turns around, walks back and finds a rock and sits down, and he goes,
oh, Felipe.
And Felipe just, at that moment, he didn't even give her a chance to say yes or no. Mm-hmm. He told himself no. Imagine doing that applying for a job. Imagine doing that applying for college or a program, or applying for any of those things, or going out and getting your home that you want, or going out and expressing your music or your art. If you're already telling yourself no, you never give life the chance to say no or yes either way. And it took me a long time to realize that. When I was young, of course I was afraid to ask someone out. It's downright scary. Mm-hmm. And you're scared of what rejection is. But it took me a while to realize that, if I go and ask someone out and she says no, she's telling me her truth. She's telling me her truth. I'm not into you. I don't find you attractive. You're not my type. She's saying her truth. What hurts is that I'm going to use her truth to reinforce whatever self-doubt I have. I'm going to use her truth to reinforce, look at the way I look, it's my belly, it's my skin color, it's this, is that, and reinforce whatever judgments I have when I look at myself in the mirror. I'm going to use that person's truth to reinforce it. I'm taking it personal. I'm assuming responsibility for someone else's will. And that's what makes us afraid to go out and apply for that job, apply for that college application. Imagine if you respect that. It's like, I'm going to quote a Sex and the City here. Berger telling Miranda, maybe he's just not that into you. It's like she's worried about a guy who doesn't call And she's talking to the rest of the girls, and they're all giving their theories of why he hasn't called. And Berger says, maybe he's not that into you. And all the girls says, how can you say that? That's just so insensitive. Why would you say that? And Miranda goes, you're right. It's not about me. I'm just not the type. It's kind of like with me. It's like, I personally don't like papaya. Like, since I was a kid, I just don't like papaya. It just, the taste and the texture just makes me gag. It's just, and it was used on me like, oh, adults eat papaya. So every year I try and see if this is the year I become an adult.
If you aged up into liking papaya.
Yeah, exactly. No, although I do admit the Hawaiian version is a little better than the rest of it, but still, no, I don't like it. All right. She doesn't like papaya. If I ask a girl out, I'm papaya and she doesn't like me. That doesn't mean I'm terrible. Don't waste your time with someone who doesn't want to be with you. Be with someone who does, which means find someone who actually does like papaya. And don't take it personal when someone doesn't like papaya, or they might just like someone else. And that's nothing to do with me. It's totally personal. It's truth. It's a moment where I no longer use someone else's truth or preference or choice to reinforce whatever self-doubt I have. And little by little, we begin to let go of that irrational fear that is trying to protect me from the pain of rejection. So it's in those moments where, kind of like with a manga talking or anime, all that banter is either you're either using it as your ally and giving you encouragement to ask someone out, or you're going to let that banter reinforce and double down on your fear. And if you're aware of that, then you can make a choice.
And also, no one would get anything done if we had the crazy inner monologue like they do in anime, where they just talk through everything so heavily, so over the top. Oh my God, I would be paralyzed in place. I wouldn't do anything. But I think bringing up like that relationship piece, I think is super important, because that can be so devastating for a lot of people. I think especially like kids, people in high school today, currently, with like coming from COVID, staying at home, like the lack of like social connection, living online, there can be a lot of fears and isolation around that.
Yes, I've witnessed that, yes.
Yeah, and it was so scary. I was so weird about dating when I was in middle school. I got a boyfriend once, everybody, and I wouldn't talk to him after we started dating. But it was like, I would talk to him before, but once we were dating, I was like, oh, I can't talk to you anymore.
Yeah,
like, we're so weird about it. But being able to like, maybe he's just not that into you.
Yeah.
And that being okay. Like, you're not going to be everybody's cup of tea, but someone's going to love you.
Yeah. And you could say like some of those fears just comes from our past experiences of being made fun of, being taunted, whatever. And we're just doubling down on that and carrying it. All it was is just an opinion and a thought that may have been someone else's judgment or a way to make fun or a laugh or whatever. But it was just something that, if we keep carrying it on us, then we're going to limit ourselves. And the only way to disprove it is to prove it wrong. To prove it wrong that, you know what, I'm okay being alone. I'm okay if someone says no. I'm okay if someone says yes. It's one of those things that in life, you won't find out what life has for you if you keep answering for life. Because life has every right to say no. And to respect someone is to respect their no. Their no is just as powerful as their yes. But when you realize that I also have a right to say no, well, it's a wonderful experience when we're both saying yes at the same time. And that's a wonderful experience. But in order to get there, when you lose the fear of saying goodbye, you lose the fear of saying hello.
Yeah. And alternatively, we've all been on the side of the person that's like saying no or is hurting someone else, or someone else is projecting that onto them. And so I think sometimes being able to keep that in mind can be helpful. Because I know like when I get hurt or I take something really personal, I'm like, how many times have I done the same thing to someone else? And I know my intention wasn't to be hurtful. It was just like setting a boundary or something.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes when we, like you were describing before, when you actually had a boyfriend and the talk, sometimes when we actually are in a relationship and we're all of a sudden in love with someone, we feel so vulnerable. And sometimes the most craziest thing in my life, I did have that one relationship where I was so in love with someone, but all my insecurities, all my fears came roaring in. And if I didn't heal that, if I didn't work on that, then that was going to continue to infect any relationship henceforth. So I lost that person I love very much, but because of that mistake, I began to shift and change direction. You know, it's one of those things that when you realize you don't want a certain cycle in your life to continue, you actually take the step to go in a different direction. You know, taking that very first step and letting go of that cycle that was so hurtful and damaging, because that cycle was just taking me down, 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 and I don't want that anymore.
And we talked about this a little before we started rolling, how it can be super interesting seeing how these insecurities are little like ways we act out almost as a result of whatever has happened in our past. Once we're at a place where we have separation between the reaction and the action, so I have the ability to choose not to do that impulse. It's so fascinating watching those like rise up in me and be like, oh, what a weird defensive behavior I have. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, I know what you mean.
Yeah, it's so freaky. It's when I first started dating the person who, by the time this would be out, I'm married to. I'm not
Congratulations
bragging.
one more time.
Yeah, it's not a big deal. Everyone calm down. I would like have this urge rise up in me to like say something like kind of mean or kind of like elusive to like kind of push him away. And luckily I'd been doing a lot of work on myself, so I was able to choose to not do that. But it was so fascinating seeing like these little hurt places we have, like body keeps the score, all the different ways we're carrying this, our whole lives within us coming to the surface and reacting to something that isn't happening presently.
Yeah.
Like it's an old hurt piece of me that's reacting in that moment.
And catching it is important, because when you catch it, you have a choice. You can either choose to continue the cycle or break it. You know, it's like that old cycle of that old wound that, you know, we keep projecting onto people. Like this person has nothing to do with it. This person has not done what the other person did, but our wound still's there, and we begin to project it. But we're having fights that has nothing to do with this relationship. It's a fight that happened with someone else, or more importantly, sometimes in my life, a fight that my mom and my dad had with one another, and here I am continuing that fight, and it had nothing to do with the person I'm in relationship with.
Oh yeah, and relationships are so messy and so interesting to learn about ourselves, because it's just a shadow box for any unhealthy relationship dynamic we've had, like with our families, with past romantic partners. And you find it's like suddenly it's like two 6-year-olds arguing with one another. Yeah. You know, it's like just triggering all these different parts. I love when I meet with clients, it's one of my favorite things to get into, because it's those different dynamics that come up. Yeah. Do you ever slip into something like that still?
Yeah. Yeah, of course. It's one of those things that a habit is not recognizable until it hits a trigger. And once it hits a trigger, like, okay, this is no longer just playful. It's like, oh, like I found the root. I have found the source of this wound or whatever. And okay, do I want to keep it or do I want to let it go? And oftentimes I want to let it go. I forgive myself. I let go. I do the process. And the way to let go of it is to, when that cycle comes up again, or we recognize that trigger's coming, we redirect or make a different choice, or abstain from a choice, actually. It all depends on that moment. And I think the most important part about that is recognizing that I have a choice. If I choose to go down the cycle, then it's my choice, and I'll deal with the consequence, like you said. But if I choose to break it, every time I practice that, I get better and better.
And so when you were writing this, because I can't imagine what a concerted effort it must take to lock in and write in and stay on topic. Because I'm someone, I like to creatively write, and then I find I've completely lost like the train of thought or like the root of what I was doing, and now I'm in something completely different. And then I'm like, I quit. Actually, I just quit. Did you have like a playlist you listened to while you're doing this?
Oh,
you have? Okay, what was it?
Yes. Every book. Every single one of my books has a playlist that I listen to. Like it depends on where I'm at. Every single one of the books has a band. So the first 2 books is a band called Nouvelle Vague. I'm butchering the name. Nouvelle Vague, New Vogue. It's a French band that covers classic 80s new wave songs.
Well, that's niche.
Yes.
Yeah.
And listen to bossa nova version of Dancing with Myself and Love Will Tear Us Apart and things like that. And then with the Mastery of Self, I was listening to a band called Dead Can Dance, and that's it really fit it. With Seven Secrets of Healthy Relationships, I listened to actually U2 and Everything But the Girl.
And I think Love Will Tear Us Apart is such an interesting choice when you're writing something like this.
And then Mastery of Life, that was Tears for Fears and
Ooh.
Depeche Mode.
I love Tears for Fears immediately. I feel like a depressed teenager watching Donnie Darko.
Yes.
Again, I'm like, oh, I'm not well immediately.
And then this one is New Order.
Okay. And
Yeah.
does it just come to you? Like, is there a certain song that kind of fits the vibe or different music that fits the vibe of the story? Or in what way? Or is it just what you're listening to right now?
It has to not hook my attention, like
Yes.
not like distract me to like start singing, blasting, and even stuff. That's tough with New Order. But it has to put me in a place where I'm like I'm not necessarily in a trance, but it lets me just shut out the world. Like it just becomes this groove that allows me to just be present, because I have ADHD. And sometimes I just need that little help, like to find that little groove that allows me to stay locked in. And like I was talking in the last podcast, it comes in waves. It comes like you can't force a wave to come in to surf it. You have to wait it out. And sometimes songs help you with that, especially in emotion. And, a Ceremony by New Order with this one in particular, because to me, okay, Ceremony is my number one song all time. It's my heart. It's if I did create a playlist for my funeral. It's like, it's funny, and it's the number one. It's the very first song played. It's.
You're not the only one that does that. I know a lot of people, and interestingly enough, A Bridge Over Troubled Waters is really commonly, and I say really common. I've talked about this with like two people, and it's just on mine and theirs. So,
I like that song.
Great.
It's a really good song. Simon and Garfunkel. And the thing about Ceremony for me is that my wife asked me, what does that remind you of? Like, does it remind you of an ex-girlfriend or an old love? Because it's been with me since I was 11 years old or 12.
Wow.
That's when I first heard it. 12 years old. And I said, no, actually, a lot of songs remind me of past loves. It's uncanny how much a song can take me back, and I can smell, I can feel, and remember those presents. But Ceremony is about me. It's about my social anxiety. It's about how uncomfortable I am sometimes in a big group, and still forcing myself out there, and I still do it. It's like even now when I do a presentation, before I talk, I have the butterflies, and I just want to run. I just want to just leave the place, and just like there's been a time when I've been on stage, and before I even talk, I just want to run. I just want to just dart.
I'll be waiting in the wings to catch you in a big net.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I know that as soon as I open my mouth, it's like just jumping into water. Like it's like once you jump, you're in, and you swim. I know that as soon as I open my mouth, it's gonna be different. It's like I'm riding a wave. It's fun. So that song, Ceremony, is about my anxiety. So since I'm talking about fear,
Full circle.
yeah, exactly. It's the song of like, all right, I'm talking about my anxieties, my fears, my PTSD, and things like that. This is why events unnerve me. I find it all a different story.
I told you we'd break out into song at some
Exactly.
point. I don't know this one, but I'll jump in on something later. Yeah.
You can see how our message threads goes. Like we start talking, we just go in different directions when we're text sending messages. So we just realize we actually do have each other's numbers, but for some reason we're just messaging each other on Insta.
We've been we Instagram DM like once a day, probably like once a day, every other day. And he'll DM me on both the Mountainside account and on my regular personal account. And so we'll be talking on two different accounts. And then I'll remember that I have his phone number. I just never use it. Because you called me on my birthday. You were the first person that called me. And I was like, oh, yeah, I totally forgot.
Yeah.
Like, it's just.
But the funny thing, I didn't know, like, on the Mountainside that was you. I'm like, I thought, like, oh, it's just someone
Yeah.
It's in there, and then you replied. I'm like, Isabel.
Yeah, like assuredly,
Holy
this is not a marketing person. Yeah, no.
I'm like, oh, okay, it's you.
Yeah,
I hope I haven't liked anything inappropriate.
yeah, yeah.
I'm like, what? Let
Well,
me go
even if
back
you
to
have,
the
which is that's so funny because that also implies that if it was like the regular Mountainside account, you're like, whatever. Like, who cares if
Yes.
they see?
Yes, I'm like, oh my god.
That's so funny. But yeah, I think that brings it really full circle, talking about how fear has been a constant theme in your life and how that song loops into your anxiety.
Yeah,
So-
and it's just something that overcomes it because ultimately, it ends with a song, the image of a woman just standing in isolation, and kind of just the image I have of it is just like like saying goodbye to someone and forever wanting love grow, and it's just a sensation that I've always had. So for me, that's this book. This kind of fits it perfectly for me, at least personally.
Yeah.
Whether it translates to anyone else, I don't know.
That remains to be seen.
Yeah,
I haven't
exactly.
checked the Goodreads reviews.
Yeah. Oh, I've read them.
Oh, don't get
Yeah.
on there. That's not. I feel like that's a hostile place for an author.
It is, but you can learn from it.
That's true.
Yeah, you can learn from it because the repetition part. Like someone commented on my mastery of self that I repeat myself. I'm like yes, because most of this is basically I recorded from my classes, so there's repetition there, and I transcribe it, and so I definitely learn from it, and I understand where they're coming from. Sometimes you can disregard it because you're like, that's what it is. And sometimes they're just looking for like, oh, I'm not my dad, and thank God, it's one of those things. Oh,
Yeah.
it's understandable. If you're looking for my father, you're not gonna find it because
I'm not him.
I am not him. And the thing is that with me, I'm like, all three brothers were taught differently. Like I was saying in the last podcast.
Yeah, you shared that.
Yeah,
last time.
Leo was learned through poker, Jose through spirituality, me through logic. So I'm the most unspiritual between me and Jose. Leo still wins because of poker, but he still got it. He understood it. But it's just the language. So when me and my brother talk and go to presentations, we're like two pieces that go together. Like he satisfies the people who want the spirituality side of it, and I satisfy the people who want to ground it. Like, last time I talked about like I had a moment of a power journey where I had the aha moment, this shift and assemblage point. And then it followed by another event right after in Oaxaca. And my teacher, Ginny Gentry, she assigned me to take someone with me. And it was the first time I ever had a student. And she asked me to take her where you're at, with my whatever I was. And I said, okay. And I took her there. And she had an epiphany in her life. And I kind of like being a young 20-something, whatever, 25-year-old. Not that young, I guess. And I kind of just walked away, It's like, oh, I'm done. I did my purse. Like I took her. And then she looked at me, Miguel, she's still up there. You got to bring her down. I'm like, oh, that's right. And I realized that's actually what I do. It's like I help someone go up, but I still need to ground it. So a lot of my teachings are based on how to keep people grounded as they go into spirituality, because a lot of people, if you're doing ayahuasca or that kind of stuff, teacher will take you up, and a good teacher, a good guide will help you come down and ground yourself. Some know how to take you up and don't know how to bring you down.
That's a problem.
Yeah. And there's people just left up there and they don't know, and they think this is the only way to do it. And you can say my grandmother always taught me that you can reach those levels of spirituality of aha moments, but still be able to function in this society. We still need to live and engage and be present. So I guess my books are geared towards that.
And I think that you being able to read your good reviews is evidence enough that he's conquered fear. But thank you so much for being here. It's always wonderful. I only get to see you in person like once a year, but it's a treat every time I do. So thank you for being here.
It's a wonderful time. And next time, your name will be changed.
Yeah, next time, once again, write it down. It's different now. I will not respond to Isabel Donnelly anymore. I'm just kidding. I think it'll be a knee-jerk reaction. Isabel Donnelly, a heart.
All
right, sweet. Thank you so much for your time. And everybody check out The Poisoned Arrow.
You know, it says, this book is the cure. And I keep thinking, oh, the cure. Very cool.
Yeah. And if you want to see more of Miguel, he's on Instagram. We will put all of the links to his website and his other novels down below. And also, if you're interested in the book, you can find it on Amazon and
Barnes & Noble, indiebound.org, and your local independent bookstore.
So literally anywhere that there are books,
and if it's not there, you can order it.
Yeah, done. Easy peasy. No matter where you are, as long as you have a mailbox and a dream, you can get it. Period. Okay, sweet.
Cool. Thank you.
If you or a loved one is struggling with addiction, Mountainside can help. Call 860-365-6764 to speak with our caring treatment team.